Okay, I'd like to do a quick tutorial on how to use the image trace tool in Illustrator. And this is something you can use to turn a photo or a pixel-based picture of any sort into a vector that you can use in Illustrator, which you can then resize without losing any resolution. It is a little tricky and you have to kind of play it by ear, but I'll show you at least how to get started. What I'm doing for this is taking an image that I found, and I made sure it was a Creative Commons license. I found it on Wikimedia Commons. I found this little cherry blossom flower I'd like to use. Made sure this one's in the public domain, so that one's totally safe. Make sure it's something you can either remix or reuse. Make sure that license is correct. So I found it, I saved it on my desktop, and now the first thing I want to do is place it. And to do that you go to File, Place, find the picture that you're going to trace. And a bit of advice here, the simpler the picture, the easier it is to turn into a vector. So if you're using a really complex photo, you're going to get a lot of different colors and things going on. So look for simple when you're trying to do this. It works well for logos and things like that. So I like to do all of my tracing over on the side of the document just so I can kind of look at it by itself. As you can see, if we just placed this picture in here, it'd be really pixelated, it wouldn't look very good. So we want to turn it into a vector. And to do this, we go to the image trace palette, which in my case is over here on the side. You might have to go to Window and look for image trace to open that. So here we are in image trace, and you might not have the advanced options open yet. It might just look like this. So when we're clicked on this image, we have some default settings that we can look for. This is, I'm going to pick the 3 colors default because that looks pretty close. You can see there's also like black and white, multicolors, line art, and that'll just give you a good starting point. So I'm going to start with 3 colors, and it automatically previews, see a little preview box is checked here, what my traced image is going to look like. Now that's a little more sloppy than we'd like it, so let's see if we can play around with it. You can see we've got 3 colors here. If I add more colors, it's usually going to pick up more detail. And we might have to turn the preview on and off to make it catch up. So you see, like, the more colors, the kind of rougher it gets. In most cases, that's not going to help you, but you kind of have to slide back and forth to see what's the best. Let's go into Advanced to kind of tweak this a little further. First of all, I'm going to ignore the white, because I don't need the white background to be an image on its own. And then to get a little more correctness out of this middle section, I'm going to see if I can turn up the paths. That turns up the number of paths it's going to trace. Maybe turn up the corners. That'll let it bend a little bit more. It looks like that helped a little bit. Turning up the corners. And maybe turn down the noise. That makes things a little straighter. So this is looking pretty nice. That looks like something that I can work with. So I want to make sure I have everything looks good. I have ignore white on there. Right now, I want to go to check the trace button, but it's grayed out. That's because the preview is still on. So I have to turn off preview and then click trace. And now, it doesn't really tell you, but it's actually done. I can go into another palette. I'm done with the image trace. So this is a vector image now, but it's still in a group. And so what I need to do is go to Object, or it still needs to be expanded. Object, Image Trace, Expand. And that turns these into individual objects. And now these are still grouped. And I need to go to Object and then Ungroup, or they can be Shift-Command-G or Shift-Control-G on a PC. And now these, it's going to give me some little clear pieces that I don't necessarily need. I can erase those. But all of these I can change to the colors that I have in my working board here. And I have like my own little vectors. So that's a really